Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, year number 25 of doing this program. And the Steelers right now are putting on the finishing touches of what has been a tremendous second half. 31 unanswered points, and they are going to get a big win against the Jets in the dawning of the Russell Wilson era. We're here talking sports with you, and tonight our #1 topic, and probably only topic, although we may get into the Penguins later, is the Steelers. Here to talk about it, Rich Walsh, my colleague, and Chris Mueller from the PM team, 93.7 The Fan. So, Rich, 37 points. I'd have to go back a long way to figure out the last time they got 37 points in the game, but they did tonight.
Yeah, it's been a couple years, and I think what's more impressive, it's 69 points in the last two games. They went back-to-back 30-point games, 32 last week, 37 this week. And really, I think for me, and I don't know if you guys agree, that Beanie Bishop interception late in the first half really kind of turned things around. The defense kind of jump-started the offense at that point, and that's when you saw a different version of Russell Wilson. Because I was in the camp, and we talked about this on the sports call the other day. I was in the camp of I thought they should have started Justin Fields tonight. Yeah. I changed my mind.
Yeah, I thought it should have been Fields' game, but Bishop's interception, I thought they were going to get clobbered at that point because it looked like Rodgers was going to take them down the field, at least get a field goal, maybe a touchdown, Bob. They get the kick again at the second half, so you're figuring you might be down 24-6 before you know it, 28-6. Bishop completely turns the tide. And then I thought Russ was cooking up a grease fire till that point. Then he started to actually make Michelin-star dishes here. Do you want to make a bunch of restaurant analogies? I mean, it was not the most efficient performance. We were praising Justin Fields for being very efficient, high completion percentage. Wilson had a miserable start, really, after that first drive. And then he got it going. Guys made plays for him. Pickens a one-hander on the moon ball. Freiermuth one-hander. Pickens a helmet catch. But they made the plays. Like, you have to give him credit. And then I thought he got it going after that a little bit more on his own. I don't know about you guys, but I'll just say this. Everyone's trying to figure out a way to conceptualize what happened, right? The number that matters to me is 5 for 111 and a touchdown. George Pickens is your best weapon. Right. You unlocked him tonight. He looked more engaged. He was more productive than he's been all year. That's the bottom line.
But it was him. I mean, he underthrew him a bunch of times. I mean, he definitely looked rusty. Russell Wilson.
That's why you have to grade this on a little bit of a curve that first half. I think people were quick to boo and quick to think, well, this is the wrong choice, but that's why they play the game over 60 minutes. And I thought once he got things going, and again, last year he was the best in the NFL in the red zone, you know, with 20 touchdowns tonight, 2 touchdown passes in the red zone. So he's doing what he did.
Van Jefferson caught a touchdown. My goodness, the guy might be a miracle worker, for all I know.
Bottom line is he got confident as the game went on. So, but I also thought this also was a case, Rich, of the run game continuing to do what it did last week, spearheaded by Najee Harris. But Jaylen Warren now is back healthy. And those two guys together, 1-2 punch, I think are among the best in the NFL.
Yeah, and Najee Harris looks a little bit different since last week. And I think this week a lot of these guys are kind of motivated about Russell Wilson starting there because it opened up a passing attack that they haven't had yet. George Pickens is happy. Pat Freiermuth is happy. These guys feel like this is a better passing offense with Russell Wilson there. I know your question is about the running attack and the 1-2 punch, but I think it's because Jaylen Warren is getting healthy each game. Last week, maybe not so much as this week, but they need both those guys healthy to be an efficient offense.
I thought the interior of their offensive line did a pretty good job. Broderick Jones was shaky in pass protection, but he was starting to get it going a little bit in the run blocking game. But, you know, I think one of the things that people like me who wanted Fields, Richie wanted Fields, we'd say, well, Justin Fields makes your running game so much better. Well, that kind of got torpedoed. I think they had about 140 yards rushing in this game. You know, both guys, like Richie said, you know, Jaylen Warren looked much better, much healthier. So if you're able to run the ball this effectively with Russell Wilson, and he's going to get you a couple Joe Flacco-style moon balls down the field, well, that's your offense now.
And maybe you get Patterson back next week, too.
Yeah, I mean,
at least by after the bye week.
At least
I got to give a lot of credit to Ryan McCollum. I thought he did a very good job at center for being thrown into this. But the larger question is Mike Tomlin was sort of a lone wolf, as Jay Glazer called him today. He talked to him last night, said this was his decision, his alone, and he wanted to see what he had in Russell Wilson. I think he got some answers tonight. And for anyone who's thinking that this is going to be short term, I think you have to rethink that. They like what they have in him. That's why they brought him here. The original plan, Chris, was to have him here as your starting quarterback. Justin Fields came in a little bit later. So this is working the way Mike Tomlin wanted it to work, at least for this week.
So I vacillated a lot on this. I was somebody when they had Wilson and Fields, I said, well, I think Wilson's the guy you should start. Like, I'm not going to get distracted by the shiny object, the guy who played in Chicago and has all the athletic gifts. Like, he needs a year to kind of figure it back out a little bit, to decompress and kind of recalibrate himself. Well, then when Wilson got hurt, Fields looked pretty good by and large, like playing that efficient little style of ball. Okay, keep the good times rolling. Now I should just boomerang back to my original opinion, which was, of course, Russ was the best option. He needs to be better. Like the ball off the helmet that Pickens catches should be out in front of him, and it's a touchdown. Right. The Freiermuth catch is not going to happen often where your guy goes out and one-hands it. Pickens, it was just a jump ball. But the plays happen. You know what I mean? Like at some point, we've been
he also hasn't played since
we've
last
been
Christmas.
True.
So
and we've been so starved for offense in this town, like passing offense, that I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth when the guy threw for about 270, 2 touchdowns. And this is the one thing we haven't talked about yet, and I don't think I've seen it tweeted a bunch or mentioned publicly. Not even one sniff of a turnover-worthy play, really, from Wilson.
I think we're still starved for offense. I mean, we didn't see offense until, like I said, the very end of that first half. I mean, this offense didn't look good until it kind of woke up there. But for all the people that are saying that Mike Tomlin made the switch because Russell Wilson deserved it or he promised him something, I do not agree with that.
No, it was
Mike Tomlin made the switch
not
because
very good. He knew what he could do in the back.
Russell Wilson is the better quarterback, and he puts defenses on their toes. He's better over the middle. And even if he didn't play well here today, and he played well in the second half, even if he didn't play well, Bob, I thought they were going to give him a few games, like we talked about early on the pregame show, maybe 6 games and see what he does.
Yeah. I think he throws a more catchable ball than Fields. Fields was throwing some very accurate lasers, but Chris Collinsworth, thought happened to make a good point. Other people have brought this up. He throws that ball up there so high on the deep stuff that the nose comes down like a punt, and it's easy for these guys to catch and come back to. Well, Fields throws those laser beams up there. They look nice, but they're very hard to catch because the defender can get their hands on them.
Think of the one that he threw through the hands of Jaylen Warren, which was a backward pass.
Right.
It was in need of an easier touch than what they had there. He's very good at that, and we'll see what happens. But it's only one game, and it's a good game. So it's 5-2. That means the Giants are coming up next, and the Steelers have an opportunity to go 6-2 before their bye week, and then things ramp up, but their offense is ramping up too. Back-to-back games in the 30s. We're going to continue to talk about the Steelers and the big win tonight, 37-15. 31 unanswered points, some big plays defensively, which triggered the offense. That's all coming up as we continue live right here. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back as we continue live with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Those of you just joining us, thank you. Steelers win impressively, 37-15. We've been talking about the quarterback situation. Chris, I want to go back to you on Russell Wilson, what it means now moving forward. And a lot of people didn't want to see this move made. It happened. Mike Tomlin seemed to go out on a limb to make it happen. There were a lot of people in that organization didn't want to see it happen. He looks like he's right with what he thinks Russell Wilson could do to this offense to jumpstart a passing game that was ranked 28th in the NFL.
He's vindicated. I don't even think his offensive coordinator, frankly, wanted it to happen. I don't know about you guys, but I read into the way Arthur Smith sounded like a guy who felt like, why are you doing this? Like, it's fine. We were doing fine with Justin Fields, but Mike's vindicated here. I mean, I didn't want him to start Wilson. I wanted Fields to start. On the PM team, we were ripping him, saying, when has this guy shown any feel for quarterbacking situations? Well, he's right. He gets to take a victory lap, and he was very happy at the end of that game. He was mugging for the cameras. They're all peacocking around right now because they feel pretty good. When is the last time you saw this team do 2 things, which they did in this game? Score 37, then rip off 31 unanswered as part of that. Yeah. And this is the other thing, and I do want to focus on this for a second. The Jets were undermanned in the secondary. They were undermanned in general coming into the game. They got worse injury-wise, and the Steelers buried them when they got an opening. They finally had an avalanche of points happen. Against Dallas, they didn't have Micah Parsons. They didn't have DeMarcus Lawrence, Lawrence, and they couldn't do anything. They barely got it, and that I know Fields got them the lead late, but it was a struggle. Finally, you see a team that's shorthanded come in here and actually get boat raced a little bit. It was weird that it happened all at once with Beanie Bishop's interceptions, but mark of a good offense, I think, is if you see a wounded opponent, you take advantage and you put them away.
But a veteran quarterback could do that for
you,
too.
And that's where I think Wilson, we know Fields was looking over his shoulder, whether he admits it or not. And I think you saw a guy who knows that the head coach has his back and played that way. He didn't get rattled by the fact that he stunk for the better part of the first half. And when he got an opening, he took advantage.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit I was wrong. I wanted Fields to start this game. I thought it was just to keep it rolling, don't lose the locker room type thing, and then take him out when the opportunity was right to put Russell Wilson in there. I was totally wrong, and I question it because of how Mike Tomlin, like you said, handled the quarterback the last few years. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. We can go on and on about how those quarterback situations were handled. I think he did it. It was right. He was right. I was wrong. You were
What's
wrong.
the
we
line-
all were
what's
One
wrong.
difference is he's never had a 9-time Pro Bowler with that sort of resume.
I know, but it didn't look like you were getting that kind of player. Like Sean Payton wanted him out on the curb in
But Sean
Denver.
Payton was wrong. When you look at what happened last year, I thought that his numbers were better
26
than the Steelers.
touchdowns. 26
All three of them
touchdowns.
combined. They stunk, but he necessarily was not
I think
their
the tape showed that he was not as good as the numbers, but the numbers were still what they were. And
But
so,
it's hard to dismiss 20 touchdowns in the red
again,
zone.
this is like handing the Steelers and their fan base a starving man in the desert. You hand them a ham sandwich. It might not be a particularly good ham sandwich, but it's still better than what they've been eating.
No matter how you look at it, this offense looked a lot better, a lot more efficient with Russell Wilson back there than it did with Justin Fields. I know Justin Fields made some big plays, 10 touchdowns, right? But he's made some critical mistakes at the worst possible moments of games that put him in situations. This offense, in the second half, after that Beanie Bishop first interception, it kind of woke that offense up. It looked pretty good. I can get behind this offense right now.
It's amazing. That play, Beanie Bishop makes that play, things change dramatically because otherwise they could have marched right down, and it looked like they were going to at least get 3 points.
I thought they were going to get blown out.
18-6 or 21-6 at halftime, and then you're looking at disaster potentially.
Bob, I thought they were going to get blown out, the Steelers. I thought they were going to go down in the half, 21-6, because I thought Rodgers had kind of figured them out in that first half. And they were going to kick the ball away, probably get beat again for a touchdown or a field goal. I thought this was going to turn into a laugher, and it did, just not the way I thought. Like, I've rarely seen one defensive play seemingly change the entire complexion, not just of like, okay, it leads to points.
Right.
It like kicked the offense in the pants and got them going finally. It was
But that's
shocking.
one thing the Steelers defense does. They're not only good, and they not only make big plays, but when they make big plays, the offense feeds off of it and gains some momentum. Let's go back to that touchdown, the Jets touchdown, when they went for 2 and they went up 15-6. I thought that was going to change really the game into the Jets' favor, but it didn't.
Well, that was a terrible
it was
call,
a
too,
terrible
wasn't it?
call. There was a
Leverage.
bunch of different calls. The red flag was thrown. They didn't see it. Then they called it a touchdown. Then he went for 2.
He dropped
and
the red
leverage,
flag. The
red
Yeah, then the
flag
red
never
flag.
made
I
it.
know,
He
but the
dropped
whole
it.
So it doesn't
sequence.
count and it has to go
it
on
was
the
a
playing field.
3-point swing, but there wasn't any leverage right there.
No,
You know, the
it
refs
was a
helped the
bad
Steelers
call.
out last week, but they were hurting the Steelers
Thankfully,
earlier in this week.
there weren't that many flags in this game.
No, it was
grateful to see
unlike
that.
the last Jets game. It was actually watchable in that regard because that Jets-Buffalo game was terrible. But like, again, I'll just go back to this, and I have to give Wilson credit because he made the plays he needed to make. And when the Steelers had a chance to deliver a kill shot in this game, they did.
Yeah.
They didn't miss. I mean, and that to me is the mark of a quarterback. Like the Van Jefferson pass is such a simple play, but they weren't executing simple plays sometimes. It's just here's the read. Put the ball on the money and get it out there.
How
and he
about
did.
using big Darnell Washington? How many times
I was going
did
to
they
bring
just-
that up.
And that seemed to be a design part of this whole game plan is to go to that guy as much as you could in the flat.
He's definitely an offensive weapon. We've seen it earlier, not as much as we saw it here today. Not only a blocker. I want to see more of Darnell Washington.
So 2 other quick thoughts here. Does Arthur Smith, who might have been pro Fields, expand his passing playbook? Do they kind of let the passing game mature a little bit here and do some more advanced conceptual stuff? And if we thought Russ was rusty in the first half, do we get a sharper, healthier, better version of him next game? Like
We should.
You can dare to dream now for once because, my God, they scored 37 points. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone right now with this.
I know, finally, this is the first time in
Amazing.
3 years I've been excited about this offense.
Well, we'll see. They're 5-2, and they are right now in first place in the AFC North. Baltimore will play at Tampa tomorrow. Cincinnati won today. When we come back, kind of look at the AFC North, where it is right now, and some of the developments on this week 7 in the National Football League. We'll do that as we continue right here live with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. Talking about the Steelers in a win, 37-15, and now they're on top of the AFC North. They have one more game before the bye, and that's a game against the floundering Giants, who lost today to an inspired Saquon Barkley. So, Chris, I want to ask you first and Rich about the AFC North. Baltimore looks really good right now, but Cincinnati's sneaking up there with 3 wins. I know beating Cleveland isn't much, except they had to do it, and they did. What's your thought about where Cincinnati is right now, given the hole they done?
I still think Cincinnati's a very dangerous team that could finish with a better record than the Steelers. The Steelers play offense like this, they're going to be a problem. But Cincinnati, you can't count them out. Burrow never goes there and wins. Like, that's been his – he can play against the Ravens. He cannot play against the Browns inexplicably. So that's a big win for them. I think Baltimore's the best offense in football, maybe this side of Detroit. The Browns stink, but they'll be more interesting when Jameis Winston's throwing passes. This is one – they had to go in at 6-2, right? I think we all agreed. They have a very good chance to do that now, to hit the bye at 6-2. Those 2 Browns games now feel a lot better about watching those. If you somehow catch Washington, I don't want Daniels to be out, but if you do catch them without him, now you got 9 wins you could bank, Richie.
Yeah, I mean, I am. The Bengals team is scary to me. I think that's a team that could kind of come alive here like they've done in the previous years. I mean, it's a good division. You should win both of those Browns games, right? Be ahead of the Browns. You should. You should.
We should win
but the
against
Bengals,
the Giants next week. But, you know, with this kind of win, who knows?
the one thing about the Steelers offense, if they play like they did today, they maybe can keep up with that Bengals offense. The Bengals can outscore you, and that's what's dangerous with a team like the Steelers. If they don't have that offense clicking, you can't catch up. We saw that even against Indianapolis. The one thing that worries me, I'm not counting this as a layup win here this Monday night. I know the Steelers are great on Monday, but we thought a couple weeks ago it was a layup win against Dallas, too.
Well, you remember last year when Arizona came here and they weren't supposed to do anything.
Yeah, I don't want to remember that, Bob.
I mean, all those games, even New England, they came here, right, and won a game.
But the Steelers are really good on Monday night.
That's a low point for Mike Tomlin last year. I do think this team has a little pep in the step now, which actually makes that game more dangerous, right? They're all strutting around. They're all feeling very good. And then here comes a rolled ankle in the old pothole.
Well, the one thing about the Steelers defense, they got all these division games, and I think that's going to be the one thing. If they play with this level of success and stay uninjured, they're going to be in a lot of games just because of it, I think.
And they have Baltimore's number. I mean, they have Lamar Jackson's number.
This is a different Baltimore.
I was going to say, do you want to have their number with Derrick Henry? You saw Breece Hall carving them up a little bit in open space. I'll give them credit. The defense really did it without T.J. Watt making a huge imprint on this game. A couple batted down passes, but this was like the Beanie Bishop game, which is a good sign for them that other players are stepping up.
Alex Highsmith getting holed
what about Deshaun
a few
Elliott?
times,
He
right?
may be one of the
Deshaun Elliott.
unsung people you haven't talked about.
I don't know who it was. It might have been a caller to our show on the radio side, but somebody said, you watch, Deshaun Elliott's going to be a very good contributor. He has been rock solid for them.
Yeah.
Arguably the best free agent signing of this whole class this year, better than Patrick Queen so far.
Yeah, but Queen's getting better, doing some things. I thought Peyton Wilson showed a lot of speed going side to side. We got to take a break. When we come back, you might have not noticed this, but the Penguins have their own issues going on right now. We're going to talk about their latest loss today and what it means to that franchise. Coming up next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. All the focus on the Steelers and the win, rightfully so, but the Penguins played today another team called the Jets, and they got manhandled after leading 2-0. They lost 6-3. So, guys, I want to ask you, Rich, start with you. This is a team that now playing the premier teams in the league. I think the Rangers, Carolina, and the Jets have not been competitive in any one of those three games. They've gotten some wins, but not against the elite teams. Any sense of panic early on? I know it's early, but remember, they lost and missed a playoff spot by 2 points 2 years ago and 3 points. These points matter.
Yeah, I'm panicking right now. 3 and 4, there's no question about it. I think they need to figure out that goaltending situation. Tristan Jarry isn't the guy. I know he has to play, but what do you do in that situation? I think this team's a little too old right now. I mean, I love Sidney Crosby and what Evgeny Malkin has done so far, but they got to fix the goaltending situation right now. And headed out west, these are 3 tough games coming up. I'm afraid that the Steelers could be staring at a, 3-7 record.
You mean the Penguins?
The Penguins,
Steelers.
yeah.
You got Steelers
not
in the
the
Brandts.
Steelers, but that
happened.
I think that the Steelers too much.
Quickly here, I think that this is more about like seeing these 3 very good teams bludgeon them, especially Carolina, just work them over. It's about their style of play. The goaltending's important, but they need to understand they are not the Penguins of 2009. You have to adjust your style against better teams, muck it up, make it ugly, make it boring hockey. That's the only way you're going to win.
They're not young and fast anymore.
That's the only way you're going to win these games is to just try to make it kind of a slop fest, which is not in their DNA. They hate that.
No, and the thing is, their defensive guys sometimes are playing too loosey-goosey in front, and we saw that today. If your goaltender making saves like Nedeljkovic was good early on, kept them in the game, and all of a sudden it just wears them down because there's too many great opportunities from short range. All right, I want to tell you about this. If you're considering an electric vehicle, but you're worried about the cost of a home charger, #1 Cochran Kia is here to help you. When you buy or lease a new EV this October, you're going to get a $1,500 credit toward your charger purchase and installation. Plus, remember this, their partner Treehouse can handle all the permitting and installation. The offer is available only at #1 Cochran Kia, so mention this ad when you buy. You can shop right now at cochrankia.com. All right, biggest takeaway from tonight, the passing game to me got unlocked, and Russell Wilson had the key to it. Chris?
Biggest takeaway for me, George Pickens, 5 catches, 111 yards, a touchdown, and a guy who looked fully engaged in his business. Russell Wilson's the starter from now on for that reason only, because that's your best offensive player.
Winning recipe, all three phases played well together, and they all fed off of each other. The blocked field goal, the defense, a couple interceptions, beating Bishop, and then obviously what the offense has done with Russell Wilson.
And you got to love everybody's reaching out to Danny Smith. I thought
Ball don't lie.
I thought he was going to choke on the gum.
We ride. What is it? We
Clint
ride.
Hurdo even had a reaction to it about the gum chewing. So
Ball don't lie for Danny Smith.
I love Danny Smith.
They got the special teams going as well. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again next Sunday night, 11:35 in advance of the Steelers and New York Giants on Monday. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.